Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. From the department's perspective on the management of the wolf population in the state, can you describe, in your opinion, is the wolf species in our state a common species, as your numbers would indicate, or is it still closer to than farther at that distinction of an endangered animal?
I guess whether common, I guess the first thing that jumps to my mind is, we classify various bird species as common or not. So I don't know if I want to utilize those terms, but I would say that, based on both the federal recovery goal and based on our state goal, we have exceeded, and we are closer to, I wouldn't say closer, we are recovered. And we're farther on that spectrum than we are for the endangered end of the spectrum. And I think to speak to that further, when you take a look at what we may be looking at is, and I know there's various figures out there as far as what biological carrier capacity may be, and there's different theories that are out there. I think we've also, the numbers that I've seen anywhere from, I think they range from 5 to 700 animals. We've exceeded that as well.
Mr. Chair, just a few more if I can. Could you describe this list of animals? Raccoons, foxes, coyotes, woodchucks, rabbits, squirrels. What do they have in common as it relates to the DNR's management of them? Do you classify them in a certain way?
They are under the landowner authority currently. Landowners can harvest or take those animals year-round on their land without a permit. And that's set in statute 29.337. I believe it was put in there as some of those are viewed as pest circumstances. Give landowners that tool to be able to control those situations.
They're pests.
Well, and under that statute, there's authority for landowners to control them, and they're treated a little differently than other species.
Well, since they're pests, or what's been called a nuisance animal, this bill adds wolves. Now, from a scientific perspective, is this an appropriate addition to that list?
As amended, because it was alluded to earlier, the removal of those two sections, they are not on the list.
Okay. So that will absolutely be removed?
Yes.
That's our understanding.
And is it because you're worried that you may fall under more federal authority and
yes,
potentially the loss of the court challenge?
Yes.
Okay.
You couldn't control that harvest.
Okay, well, that's good. Now, just on the same theory, on management of tools. Now speak to use of flashlights, speak to the dog hunting, speak to the trapping provision, and then based on what you feel the number is and what other states are doing. My understanding is you would consider Montana to be the closest state with a population of around 570 animals. There's no dogs, no trapping. From a management perspective, do those sections of the bill need to be also removed to not fall back into the Fed authority and the court challenge?
I'll start in order, please correct me if I miss anything. In regards to flashlights, the use of light at a point of kill is something that's common for predator hunting, specifically coyotes, fox are also included in that. So I think this is consistent. In regards to dogs, we currently allow dogs for coyote hunting, bobcats, and bear. So I believe that's also consistent with current practice.
Do those animals just come off the endangered species list?
The bear or the coyote or bobcat, no. Bobcat, I know at one point their population was also lower in the state. So, no. In regards to trapping, trapping is allowed for those same species I just mentioned, except bear, so for fox, coyote, bobcat, trapping is also allowed. And I guess in regards to comparing this to another state, I would prefer to compare us to Minnesota as far as the types of methods. And the reason I do so is we've been lumped in with Minnesota for recovery. We were part of the Western Great Lakes Distinct Population Segment. Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan as well as a number of the Midwest states. We're Minnesota also allows hunting and trapping.
just jumping in, does that mean that their number of 3,000, we can basically use their number and our number together to represent the total population, so we don't look at the state border for the population? Is that what you're saying?
We'll be managing the species within our state boundaries. In regards to the federal delisting,
The federal delisting combines the 3 states, looks at the populations, it's the same, they call it the Western Great Lakes population, and that's Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin's population. But each state has their own management plan and has authority to manage within their boundaries and will be managing their plans. And the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has approved those management plans as being adequate.
the other thing I'd point out about Minnesota is that with this delisting, their status is going from threatened to delisted versus we're going from endangered to listed.
Okay, Mr. Chase, finally. I had a constituent from my district who now is part of this wolf management team. And he strongly encourages the season to end at December 31st because he says this would allow for ample time for harvest, would ensure for the annual winter census to occur. He says that this overlap going through February could be a challenge. I don't need any comment, but if maybe you might look into that. And then finally, under the fund transfers from the endangered species account for the depredation program, going to a licenses paid for. So this would be for the cattlemen, I assume, the dog owners, for the pets, for everybody, right? All that money is just in that one account. So
I guess just to clarify that the bill also provides the opportunity to utilize those funds for management in addition to depredation payments.
okay, so just clear that there will be plenty of money there. But finally, can the endangered species account still be used under the new statute for wolf management? Or is wolf management solely funded from whatever is left after depredation is paid?
The funding, and those are some of the discussions that are taking place right now as we transition. And at this point, our wolf management program is housed in the Endangered Resources Bureau. So it's, we hope we can be here today to speak to it further. And as we transition and this becomes a hunted species, specifically how those funds can be used, whether state funds or federal funds, there's certain things that federal funds cannot be used for if a species is delisted. So those are some of the considerations that we'll have to take into account as we move forward under this new world that started Friday.
Are you clear in the statute that that's all I'm asking? Does the statute still allow you to have dual avenues of wolf management funding from the endangered species account, from license plates, and from license fees?
While wolves are listed, yes. When they're not listed, it would be funded solely by wildlife management, which would be permits and license fees.
And that could be a problem, put it not, as it relates to justifying to our federal representative who's sitting behind you that this program is truly not to get back into an endangered category, but as a true management program.
The amendment that we were looking for in regards to Chapter 71 and the use of the Endangered Resources Fund, the amendment would be such that if they are federally listed, they would be funded through the Endangered Resources Program. Upon federal delisting, we would switch over to the new funding source. Outright elimination of that section, I think, they would raise questions, and so that's why we're, as we understand it, we've been along through to make sure that there is that transition and ability to go back and forth. Should a lawsuit occur, or should they be put back on the list, we would have funding in place.
Representative